If you're just starting carving, you might get some of these tools off Amazon. So I decided to see how far I could push them, and I'm making this oak bowl today, which looks like that when it's finished. Here's the tools and the glove, which I've learned to use when I'm getting a bit dangerous with the carving because it is quite sore when you cut your finger by accident. I've done it once or twice. I'm just sort of drawing the outline of the bowl here, and then I took a wee while trying to carve off the corners. But this bit of oak is old and dry as a bone, so carving it with the knife was just agonising on the arms. Not very easy to carve at all. So I changed tack and I went for a saw, but that again was just taking too long. So I whipped out the jigsaw and got those corners off sharpish. Although the jigsaw didn't make it look too easy either, but that's probably more to do with my setup. Here's the sort of blank shape of what we're working with for the bowl, sort of like an egg shape. And then I went straight in to hollowing out the bowl, which is my favourite part of carving actually, hollowing things out and making sort of useful things rather than decorative. I like to have them to be used in the house. So this wee bowl will be used for something later. Started carving that out and then quite quickly got to the limits of the hook knife because I was just carving straight down. And if you keep carving straight down, you sort of carve the shape and size of the knife, which makes it difficult to go any deeper. So you have to peel away at the edges here to give yourself more space to carve deeper into the bowl to make it more useful. Because having a shallow bowl like that wouldn't be too useful for much. And I wanted it to be as deep as possible. We've got about an inch and a bit of depth here, so I'm trying to get into that as much as possible. And that's most of it. Most of the insides carved out there. So we're switching over now to carving the bottom shape of the bowl. This part is quite aggressive with a knife. Some people would do this maybe with an angle grinder with a flap disc on it or a big sander or something. But I wanted it to be quite authentic, and also I wanted to really make it look like it was hand carved. So yeah, we're sort of thrusting the knife around here and pulling off big chunks of this at a time, at the start at least, to get the shape of the bottom of the bowl. And this is quite important to wear the gloves at this point, because if your finger's in the wrong place, the top of it's coming off, which happened once to me so far, so I was wearing the gloves. We've got a little flat spot on the bottom here, which is intentional to have a foot for the bowl, because we didn't want it rocking about. I wanted something solid for it to sit on. I was a bit worried that the foot was off the sort of centre of gravity, maybe, of the bowl, but it worked out alright. So we just made a circle around it and then hollowing it out with this hook knife here. Usually you might have to be careful you didn't go too deep on either side of this, in the top of the bowl or the bottom, so you didn't go right through it, but the oak is so hard it's unlikely you're going to do that. But you might need to keep an eye on that for other things. If you're using a softer wood or a green wood, it might be a bit easier to go too deep. After I was finished carving like all those bits, I sanded it down, but not like flat. I wanted it still to show that it had been carved with a knife. So the sanding here is mostly just to take off rough edges. I've left all the carving marks there, but just rounded off with the sandpaper. And then I rubbed the foot on a flat bit of sandpaper just to make sure it's flat and get rid of the lacquer that was on there. And again, sanding the inside, but I'm not taking away the carving marks. Wanted it to keep the carving marks, but just be smooth. Here's what it looks like when you twirl it round for 15 minutes, trying to keep it in the frame. Having a wee test here to see how it is for holding stuff, so I put all the stuff that I carved out of it back into it. There's a little gouge on the side here which I wasn't happy about, so I gave that a bit more with the sandpaper. I don't think it really came out completely in the end, so I got a bit bored of sanding it. but I was happy enough with it. And then we're moving on now to putting a bit of beeswax on it, which really is just going to make the grain and the oak really look a lot nicer than just leaving it without anything on it. You could lacquer it or put some oil on it. I got beeswax just because that's what was the first thing I found on Amazon. And I think it looks pretty nice. Maybe needs a couple of coats of this because it did fade once the beeswax had dried a bit. So I'd probably put a few coats on it and then maybe keep up with that. If it gets used, the beeswax probably come off. So yeah, keep applying that to keep it looking nice. And that's the bowl. That's what it looks like. And there's all the stars of the show. If you like this video, subscribe. I'm going to be making a knife next, and keep up with the shorts as well. Thanks for watching.